As we talk about learning as an important subject, let me start with an interesting story. There was a young man like you who one day decided to learn music. Actually, he was a musician. He was practicing music. He was good at music supposedly, and he wanted to go to the best teacher in the state. And he actually went to him and met him, and then said, "Guruji, I want to learn music." And the Guruji said, "Fine, you are welcome as a student of mine." The student was excited. The student asked the teacher, "Guruji, how long is this going to take for me to learn music?" The Guruji said it's going to take 6 years. The student, 6 years? That's too long. But Guruji, you know what? I know something about music. I actually know music. So you have to teach me advanced music. I don't think, Guruji, that will take 6 years. The teacher said, "All right, tell me what you know about music." The young man explains to the Guruji what he knows about music. And then with a lot of pride on his face, he's looking at the teacher and asking, "Now, Guruji, tell me how long it is going to take for me to learn music." The Guruji said, "It's going to take 12 years for you to learn music." He was really paranoid. He was angry. He was upset. He said, "Are you a real teacher or a fake guru? You told me 6 years. I told you I know something about music. I've already explained to you what I know about music. Now you are telling me it's going to take 12 years. Are you nuts?" The Guruji said, "My dear boy, everything that you know about music is wrong. So it's going to take you 6 years to unlearn what you have learned, and it's going to take another 6 years to learn music. So 6 years plus 6 years is 12 years. I don't know what did the young man do that day, but this small story tells us a lot about learning. I think somebody said that the literate of the 21st century is not the one who can read or write. It's the one who can learn, unlearn, and relearn. And that's what organizations need to do if they want to really create value for themselves, value for the people, value for the customers, value for the society that they're serving, value for the industry that they belong to. So organizations and individuals must learn, unlearn, and relearn. And that's what organizations should strive to achieve. That's what the concept of learning organization is all about. So don't get overwhelmed by the panelists like us who are sitting here. Some of us are like big elephants. And potentially you are small mosquitoes who can create big problems for the elephant. That's what is happening in the industry today. The large organizations, hierarchical structures, big multinational organizations are melting away. The structures are melting away. They're just breaking down. They are disappearing. Because small startups, I think we met Suhas Jagannath in the morning, and the many such entrepreneurs, youngsters like who are aspiring to strive and achieve greatness in life. The small mosquitoes can create big problems for big elephants, and the elephants can't do anything about it. So organizations cannot do anything about it because they're large. They cannot move at a fast pace. They cannot bring about changes. They cannot break down the structures quickly. But a mosquito is agile. It's fast. It can move very, very quickly, and it can pierce into its victim's body swiftly within no time. So that's what the startups are doing today. The small organizations are doing today. The big organizations believe that they need to learn, unlearn, and relearn to become organizations who can create value. So what's happening in the learning space? There are tremendous changes that we are seeing in the learning space today. There was one experiment, very interesting experiment and theory that was advocated by Dr. Saugata Mitra, who was an educational researcher, and he has done a humongous amount of work in that space. And he is talking about a self-organizing system. And what example? Let me give the example, I think the most popular example, which is very painful to us every day, which is the traffic in Bangalore city. So if in the city of Bangalore one day in the morning, if at the peak hour, if you suddenly see that the traffic signal at one traffic junction, the signal stopped working, what would happen? What are you going to see there? Chaos, isn't it? That's what you're going to see. But when the traffic lights, the lights go off, and we see chaos, and after some time, we get to see something interesting. What does happen? There are no traffic lights, there is no traffic police out there, but after a few minutes, we see that people somehow maneuver and then they find their own way and traffic starts moving. That's the reality of Bangalore city. This is an example of a self-organizing system. And what Professor Mitra says, that is the future of learning. Future of learning is where employees will find their own way to learn. They will not depend on the traditional learning and development departments. They'll not look at HR departments to train them. They will find their own way to learn things. Like the traffic, which finds its own way in the midst of chaos, people in organizations will find their own way to learn. We have seen historically before the revolution, automobile industry revolution, people used to travel on the coaches which are drawn by the horses. But when the automobile industry came in, passenger cars came in, the passengers were driven by the coachman and the horses. They started driving themselves. So passengers became drivers. Learners will become self-learners. Employees will become self-learners. So that's a fundamental sign of the self-organizing system that we are going to see, and the learning in organizations is going to become a self-organizing system, where we will move away from the traditional classroom-based learning. We'll not be sitting in the classroom and we'll be listening to the professor for a long time, but we'll find ways to learn on our own through peer interaction. People today learn by watching videos. The universities have started massive online open courses. There are various other ways people are learning through their smartphones, through gamification, through various other tools. So the way the millennial generation is going to learn is going to be one of the self-organizing learning systems. Another big trend that you're going to see in this space is figure it out. Organizations will tell you that you figure it out yourself. In one of the recent national convention in learning and development, I met the HR leader from Yes Bank. And she told me that they have a leadership program where they take a group of potential managers into outskirts of Mumbai and then leave them in a small village for about 6 months, and they tell them, you figure it out. There's no training for them. There's no briefing and debriefing session for them. They say, you go to the village and solve problems in the village. Come back after 6 months and then share your learning. So that's the way the leadership development is evolving. Leadership training is evolving in that direction, where the organization will tell you that you figure it out. You make mistakes. You experiment. You do things differently. You learn through collaboration. You learn through peer interaction. And that's the way you're going to learn in future. Another big change that we're going to see is the study of neuroscience, which is going to impact learning. One interesting thing I'd like to share with you, I know the time is short, but one important thing that I want to share with you, many of you have flown in the aeroplane, and has any one of you sat in the emergency exit anytime? Yeah. Can anybody raise your hands? Right. So when you sit next to the emergency exit and then air hostess comes to you and then tells you how to operate it at the time of emergency, how many of you can really operate the emergency door at the time of real need? There are a few hands which have gone up. Not too many. I have asked this question in many conclaves and then conferences. Every time I think probably 1 or 2 people who raise their hands. And fundamentally, the conclusion is people will learn only when they want to learn. You can't make them learn. Professors of this college may not agree with me. They may not like me for making this statement, but you cannot train people. You cannot teach anyone unless the student wants to learn. The air hostess cannot teach you how to operate the emergency exit unless you want to learn it. So learning happens only when you want to learn. And another fundamental thing about learning is learning happens at the individual's own pace. Everybody has his or her unique learning style. There is no one size fits all. There is no one approach which can meet the need of all the students in the classroom, or all the learners in the classroom. So learning happens only when the employee or the student wants to learn, and learning happens at the own pace of the learner. And every learner has his or her own unique learning style. Somebody learns through music, somebody learns through reading, somebody learns through interaction. Everybody has his or her own style of learning. So neuroscience is going to play a very important role in the future as we build learning organizations, because as trainers, while you cannot teach somebody if he or she is not willing to learn, but you can make your learning interesting so that people will be willing to learn. So the question is, how do we really make students want to learn? That's what the L&D practitioners, professors, the teachers, and the educationalists will have to think over. And that's the crux of the learning organizations in future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Very interesting thought on learning, and being from academic fraternity, I accept his theory on learning. I think that Dr. Sugata Mitra, the famous study on now school in the cloud, wherein he has practically done in Mumbai